Hey guys, episode 487 with Dr. Wong is brought to you by our store. We have been adding lots of really cool products to our store. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to check those out yet, but I'll just read off some of the few products that we've added recently. We've added this really awesome O3 Elite Dual Ozone Generator. So if you guys are in the market for ozone generators, oxygen type products, check out our store. We've got a great one. I think the best one on the market, as well as the Scalar Energy Rest Shield from Mr. Ken Rolla. And when you start watching the videos about this thing, you can put it by your bed and it has magical effects. So watch the videos. The cool thing about our store is that I always have videos that go along with the product, so you can actually learn a lot and watch more information and learn a lot about the product. So it's kind of an educational thing as well. Naturally Clear Skin Academy from Tracy Raftel. That's a great place for someone who's got acne or wants to get clear skin, and she teaches you and walks you through the entire process she used to overcome her acne. Soul CBD oils. We've got the Andreas seed oils, which helps to deliver oxygen to the center of the cell. Savvy Rest organic beds. The Rapid Release Technology Pro 2, which I love, love, love. Grounded bed sheets. Green juice powder. EMF Defender pads. The Vitalizer Plus, the grounded sandals, toxic-free cookware, Barf World raw dog food, the Biomat, the sauna, blenders, juicers, rebounders, all kinds of cool stuff in our store. And also want to let you guys know we are also brought to you by Amazon.com. I want to go and just thank you guys so much for purchasing every one of your Amazon purchases through our link. Just the very act of you doing that helps us tremendously. We are so thankful for that. So if you want to support the show and the work that we do, so far 487 shows for free, go through our link whenever you buy on Amazon, and that helps support the show. We would greatly appreciate it. And if you want any products to help facilitate your health, check out our store too. So thanks for that, and let's get on with this episode. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here on episode. Let me get this correct here. What episode is this? I should know this. Being the host, it is episode 487. 487 shows. With this one is going to be with Mr. Dr. William Wong. He's an amazing guy. He was back on our show in episode 38. So that was 2013. Amazing, right? Dr. Wong is a Sports Medicine Hall of Fame member, is a classical naturopath, a PhD in exercise physiologist, certified athletic trainer, certified sports medicine trainer, an old rite Catholic priest. I love that. That's awesome. And health fitness consultant. He's got lots of cool little websites called Dr. Wong Radio. I would highly recommend checking that out. He's got some really great stuff on there. He answers listener questions and things. drwong.us and then drwongsessentials.com. And let me make sure and turn, let me make sure I turn his mic up. There we go. And Dr. Wong, can you hear me okay, or is it a little bit strange?
Sure can.
Background. Awesome.
Fine.
Okay, great. How you doing? It's been a few years.
It has been. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. We're just plugging along here, doing shows, and I just felt like, you were one of my favorite guests, and it's been 3 years, and so I thought I'd reach out again.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So what have you been up to?
Oh, gosh. Mainly working, wearing several hats over at our supplement company, Wham Essentials, doing everything from mixing and blending to formulating to building outgoing packages.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. Are you still in Texas?
Yep, sure am.
Awesome. Whereabouts in Texas?
We're in north central Texas. We live in Mineral Wells, and the plant is actually in Strawn, which is about 40-some-odd miles away from Mineral Wells.
Oh, wow. So for a while there, you went to live in some other states, didn't you?
Well, when we left Arizona, we tried living in the Carolinas again to be close to my wife's family. That turned out to be a mistake.
Oh.
That was 01.
Uh-huh.
We moved. Then we moved from there to San Antonio. Stayed there for a couple of years. Decided that we wanted to get away from cities. Phoenix had turned into basically L.A., so that's one of the reasons why we left, the traffic and the smog. You know, it used to be that any time of the year you walked outside in Phoenix and you smelled orange blossoms.
Oh, wow.
When you started smelling just smog, it got really bad.
Yeah, that's not what you want.
No.
That's
so San Antonio was still too big, and we came to mineral wells. Basically, a house brought us to mineral wells. A house and the best water in the United States brought us to mineral wells.
Really? What's going on there in terms of water?
Mineral wells used to be the #1 health resort place in the entire U.S. in the late 1800s to the early 1900s. Between 300,000 to 500,000 people came here every single year to drink the waters, to get the nature cures that were available here before the FDA shut it all down in the 1950s.
Wow. So what happened? Why did they shut it all down?
Oh, because they made a concerted effort in the 1950s to only focus on drug and surgery-related therapies. There could be nothing else in medicine, they said, but drug and surgery-related therapies. Anything else outside of that, like water treatments or whatever,
right,
were not considered medicine.
Oh.
So that's also the decade when they went after the osteopaths, and they took over the osteopathic schools and gave them all terrible inferiority complexes.
Uh-huh.
And they tried to shut down chiropractic. They successfully shut down naturopathic in all but 3 or 4 states of the Union. The 1950s was a really, really bad time for natural health, in that the bad guys won most of the battles.
Wow. So you had how many? A few 100,000 people a year would visit mineral wells?
Typically 300 to 500,000 people, yeah.
Wow.
The water here is so chock full of magnesium, chock full of lithium. Matter of fact, it's called crazy water because there was a woman who was psychotic, and the story was that she sat by the first well in mineral wells here and drank the water constantly, every day, all the time. Don't know where she went to tinkle, but and while she drank the water, she wasn't psychotic.
Oh,
and it
really?
was a few years later, when they actually did the mineral analysis on the water, that they discovered that this water is rich with lithium, and the lithium stabilized her brain and made her not be crazy.
Now
that's why they call it crazy water.
That's interesting, because there was a mineral supplement that I was at the health food store the other day, and I think it was, gosh, what was the name? I forget what the name of the supplement. It was a liquid mineral supplement, Utah Minerals or something. And there was one bottle that contained lithium as one of the minerals. It was like all 92 trace minerals, and you squirt a little bit of it into your water kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And one of them contained lithium, and the other one didn't. And the one that didn't was twice the size but half the price. Yeah. And I thought, what the heck is going on with lithium? And then you brought this up with lithium.
Lithium stabilizes the brain, and it has also recently been shown to help maintain brain size. Lithium and progesterone.
Oh.
You know, if you take away nothing from the show, remember that lithium and progesterone maintain brain size.
Oh, okay. So so in some bizarre way, they've just tested that, and somehow they know that?
Yeah.
Wow. Lithium. So would that be important for kids? Well, not progesterone, but
well, the kids make a ton of their own progesterone. It's what keeps them growing throughout their entire growth cycle until they're about 23, 25.
Oh, okay.
But the lithium is important because we want our kids to have as big a brain as they could possibly get, because while some folks are trying to tell us that brain size doesn't equal IQ, if your computer is bigger and you got more gigabytes of RAM or ROM or whatever it's supposed to be, then you can get smarter.
Yeah.
So, you can walk around with a laptop if you want to, but you can pack more stuff into a tower.
I know, right?
Okay. So, the more we can feed our brain to help it to grow and to help it to be stable and normal. These days, psychosis is one of the top things around, partially due to all of the electronic pollution, partially due to bad foods, partially due to fluoride in the water. Hitler put fluoride in the water at all the concentration camps. He was not concerned about the dental health of the Jews. He did it because it was mind control. You put more fluoride in, you not only make folks more liable to getting cancers, so, you get rid of them faster, but you also make their brains more malleable to suggestion.
Yeah, I've heard that fluoride causes people to become more docile and things like that, right?
Exactly, yes. Yeah. And if you want to take a look at the data on that, I think Dr. Larry Wilson in Arizona has a good bit of the data on that.
Is that the same guy, Dr. Lawrence Wilson, or is this a different person?
Might be the same. He's up in Prescott. He was an MD with the U.S. Department of Health.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've talked to a Lawrence Wilson who does a lot of work with mineral hair testing and things. Maybe it's a different.
Yeah.
Is that
that's him? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fantastic guy.
Yeah.
He has data that's not available anywhere, especially on copper toxicity and brain function.
That's right. A big part of his protocol. Kate's seeing. My wife is seeing a practitioner. One of the few. I don't think he's got many practitioners that have studied under him, but there's one in. Up in LA that we go to, and the big part of their protocol is this copper toxicity.
Yes, yeah.
Huh.
When I typically tell folks that they need 100 to 200 milligrams of zinc a day, and some of the more educated ones come back, oh, well, how do I balance it with copper? You don't need to. Oh, but I have to have copper because copper is essential for balancing zinc. No, you don't. And then I send them all to read Dr. Wilson's book, which is free on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Copper Toxicity by Larry Wilson. And then they come back and go, oh, my God, I didn't realize. We get about 3 to 5 milligrams a day of copper from our jewelry and from the pipes, from the water that we drink and the water that we shower in and whatever else, or the water that we cook in, because a good bit of the pipes here in the States are made of copper. That copper goes into your body and never bloody gets out. It gets stuck in your brain. And it can cause everything from dementia to mania to simple depression.
So, but copper is in food, right? So there's an element of copper that we need, but not just is it the kind of copper, or is it just too much?
It's just plain copper. We can't get rid of copper. You urinate out just about every other mineral around, but you don't urinate out copper. Most of it gets stuck in your brain cells.
Really? And so I guess that's part of the whole protocol, because they have her doing saunas and they have her doing the whole dietary thing. And interesting. So copper, does copper affect, do you think, sexual issues with people, do you think?
Well, copper is the antagonist to zinc, and if you don't have enough zinc, or if your copper is suppressing zinc, you're not making any hormones. When you cannot make a sexual hormone without zinc and magnesium. You just can't, because those are the two mineral cofactors for making hormones. So anyone with a copper dominance and zinc suppression. Now, mind you, we're a zinc depleted country to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
All of our diets are very low on zinc. Then all of a sudden, you're not making any sexual hormones. That's going to affect you sexually. Plus, you're going to have ratty skin. You're going to have ratty muscles. You're going to have poor eyesight. You're going to be up for getting blindness in the eyes and whatever, because zinc is the mineral building block for all epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue is the skin, the eyes, all of the internal organs, especially the reproductive organs. And in men and women, we store zinc in either the uterus or in the prostate. In men, you lose 15 to 20 milligrams of zinc with each ejaculation.
Okay.
So tally up all of your ejaculations. The whole reason why semen is white is the zinc. Zinc acts as a pH balancer, making sure that the semen is alkaline, and it acts as an antibacterial in semen, so that semen doesn't grow bacteria or grow mold and stuff.
That's interesting. So, now they have her on zinc picolinate as one of their supplements. Does zinc help to get rid of copper, or is it just something that balances it out? Okay.
Well, let's use an example of arterial plaque. In arterial plaque, you have several things. You've got the matrix of, like, the spider web that holds the plaque together. You've got fat, and you've got primarily calcium and then some heavy metals.
Mm-hmm.
If you lyse away at the matrix via proteolytic enzymes, then you lyse away at the fat via lipase, then you bring a whole bunch of magnesium floating by in the bloodstream. It will bond onto the calcium and chelate it out, and you'll urinate it out.
Oh.
Then all you have to deal with are the heavy metals, and you can use stabilized liquid zeolite for that. Bingo, your arterial plaque is gone in 3 to 6 months. You could do the same thing with the copper in your brain if you float enough zinc past it. Now, the problem is, and I did not know this while I was practicing naturopath, but I know it now that I'm building the supplements.
Okay.
If you take a look at the zinc picolinate, let's say, and it says that it has 15 milligrams of zinc, okay? It really doesn't have 15 milligrams of zinc. What you've got is zinc and the blend, that protein or that amino acid or the citrate or the ascorbate that you blend the elemental mineral with. Only 15% in all standard supplements in the supplement world. The actual mineral content of a chelated mineral is 15%. So 15% of 15 is what? It's 2 point something.
Mm-hmm.
So you're only getting 2 milligrams of zinc in a 15 milligram chelated zinc product. The same thing with the calcium. Oh, I'm taking 1,000 milligrams of calcium. Okay, what's 15% of 1,000? You're getting 150 milligrams. That's all the calcium you're getting.
Now, is that pretty standard with all supplements?
Yes.
It is.
Throughout the industry, we are the only company that actually bucks that. When for example, in our zinc citrate, when we tell you we have 100 milligrams of elemental zinc in there, now it takes 333 milligrams of zinc citrate to give you 100 milligrams of elemental zinc.
Oh, I see.
Because we use the 30% zinc instead of the 15% zinc.
Okay.
So, we have to put in a bunch, but we actually tell you what the mineral content is. Unless a label tells you what the elemental mineral content is, then the actual mineral content of that supplement is only 15% of the dose number.
So how would somebody find that out? Would they have to call the company?
You just divide. Well, unless they say that it tell you what the elemental mineral content is, then it's just a given.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've never really seen that on the back of a label. The elemental mineral content. I've never seen that. Only 2 or 3 companies in the entire industry do it.
Wow. We're one of them. The industry has about 3,000 companies in it in the United States, and only 2 or 3 of us are willing to tell you how much actual mineral you're getting. The rest of the industry, and I'm really down on the industry because the people who own a good many of the companies in the industry are as bad a sort as the folks who own the drug companies.
Oh.
They just have less money.
Yeah.
But they're really nasty-ass people.
Well, there's a lot of people, too, saying now that the pharmaceutical companies are coming in and making a big...
heck, they started that in 99.
Yeah.
In 99, Monsanto bought, what was that? The gold label. Solgar.
Oh, really?
The Monsanto folks walked into Solgar.
Oh, man.
And the old guy who owned it, I forget his name, he was in his 70s then, and he was actually looking to get out from under the company. He told the folks from Monsanto, I wouldn't sell my company to you for $1 billion. So the lawyers from Monsanto said, okay, how about 3? Cha-ching, done.
$3 billion.
That's when $3 billion. That's what Monsanto paid for Solgar. That's when you started seeing a lot of soy stuff come into the Solgar products in their ingredients. We noticed that the very next year at the very next trade show we were at. Then a company up in Chicago area somewhere also got bought out. I don't think by Monsanto, but by another, might have been Pfizer. And they're a really huge company.
Have you seen that?
They still have the family fronting for them, but they don't own it anymore.
Right.
So, the pharmaceutical industry has been making inroads into the nutritional industry so that we can't tell anymore who owns what.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it since about 99.
Yeah. Have you seen that creepy video from what would have been probably the early 90s where George Bush Sr. is doing a walkthrough of the Monsanto plant?
No.
Oh, my goodness. So if you search it on YouTube, you can probably find it, but there's a...
creepy and creepier, huh?
Oh, my gosh, right? You search YouTube for those words. But
you can probably find them.
Yeah, you'll find it, and it's George Bush Sr., doing a walkthrough of the plant in Monsanto in the early 90s, and they're talking about one of the Monsanto execs. I think they're all in their like kind of white smocks kind of things. They're walking through the plant, and one of the Monsanto execs is talking to George Bush, and he's saying, one of the things that we are having a really difficult time with is all this regulation from the government. And George Bush says, "Oh, don't worry about that. We'll make sure to clear all that out for you, so you guys will be doing great," or something like that. And, my gosh, right?
Put some more money into my bank account. Yeah. We'll fix that.
Gosh, it's just nuts.
Well, it was good for me to see that Monsanto almost went broke this year. They just got bought out by Bayer, which is no great company either. Those are the folks who made Cyclone B.
I know, right? It's mustard gas. Now, did they get bought out, or did they buy Bayer? What was the?
No. It was a hostile takeover. Bayer bought Monsanto.
Wow. Now, did they do that for? I remember when that happened, and I'm wondering if Monsanto has been getting such bad blowback from the public. Everyone hates Monsanto, and I'm wondering if they're just going to change the name to Bayer, kind of thing.
I don't know what they're going to do. I did not keep up with it. Once I saw that Bayer had bought Monsanto, I lost track of the news reports.
Yeah, it's like how much of this stuff can you really follow when you have your own supplements to make and your own people to help? It's like you can't focus all your energy on that kind of stuff.
I guess Bayer now owns whatever supplement companies Monsanto used to own.
Oh, really?
Yep. Because if Bayer bought Monsanto, then they bought everything that went along with it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I guess that would make sense.
Yeah. So that's interesting and also kind of even more sinister.
Yeah, I think it's easy for people to understand, like, okay, Bayer, drugs, Monsanto, all the stuff that they're doing, and it's easy to point out. But what you're saying is that since the late 90s or the early 90s, these pharmaceutical companies are getting into the supplement game, so it's really challenging for people to really know what the heck is, who's behind these companies and that kind of thing, Yeah. Yeah, it's challenging, right?
Yeah, and they did not do it for altruistic reasons. They did not go into the supplement market. I think it was 2003 when the American Medical Association Journal said that the conventional medical industry was losing like $63 billion a year to alternative health and natural supplements. $
63 billion. That was 2003.
$63 billion. Yeah.
Wow.
So they want in, which is why a good many MDs are now turning alternative. Some of them are doing it for altruistic reasons. I know some docs are doing it for the money. And you can always tell after a while. You really can.
I mean, it makes sense, right? If you were a pharmaceutical company, why wouldn't you want to get involved in as many different or take over as many different holistic companies out there doing supplements? And then when those supplements no longer work because you designed them to be so weak, then they come running back to you. But that seems like it makes sense from a strategic perspective, but it also seems like, wow, would they be willing to go through all that work, do you think?
Yes, because, the supplement world is loose change for them. So what? They paid $3 billion for Solgar.
Uh-huh.
That's chump change for them.
Yeah.
I mean, think of Monsanto. God, They own every seed in the damn world almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, yeah, if you're going to pay $3 billion, that's just chump change for them. And yeah, I mean, who knows what these people really do, right? I mean, like you said, they're not getting into this game to to help people get healthy. I mean, that's not.
No, absolutely not. and just like you said, they're designing supplements that don't work on purpose so that folks get all hyped up about what the supplement is supposed to do, and then when they take it, nothing happens. There is no positive change. There is no physiological action.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because you think about that kind of model, that kind of, business acumen there. It's interesting because people that will do that, they would say, okay, like, not only do they make the sale, so there's some profit there, right, with their supplements, but so they're making so they're making money on the sale, but then they're also going to make money on the back end when those people eventually come around to the pharmaceuticals. So it's like, even if they if they just broke even on the sales of their fake supplements, then they would still be getting money on the back end.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like crazy.
Now, on top of that, if you add the unscrupulous people who are in the industry itself, who have no ties with the drug industry, but the unscrupulous folks in the nutritional industry itself, we are the most self-sabotaging industry around. I wrote a commentary piece in response to what is his name? He used to be a journalist for the LA Times. He's got his own blog, John. I'm sorry, I forgot. But he wrote an editorial on how the nutritional supplement and the natural health industry needs to get together to fight for the best interests of the industry and natural health and whatever else. And I wrote a rather lengthy commentary on the reasons why that will never happen. And most of the reason is because either you're owned by the drug companies or the firms are owned by nasty people who just have the bottom line in mind. And there are very few companies in this industry. Matter of fact, just off the top of my head, I think I can only count 5 out of 3,000 who actually have people at the head of the company who give a rat's ass about folks.
Yeah, it's challenging because you look at the prices that people are able to charge, and a lot of these people are businessmen and things like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh,
so
I was in a rage the other day about glutathione. Glutathione, real glutathione, pharmaceutical grade glutathione, is such an expensive raw material. I can't package it. I used to make a glutathione supplement. I can't buy it anymore, even with our level of a markup. My company has the lowest markup of any company in the supplement industry. My wife is a business genius. She developed the business model, and she made it so that we make enough to have a good profit, but we don't have the layers. Like, for example, we don't have the layers of salesmen who then sell to the layers of distributors who then sell to the retail shop owners. So there's 3, 4, 5 extra layers of payments there, almost like a multi-level marketing company.
Yeah, it's almost that way, really, when you think about it, because everyone has to get paid.
Exactly. So we don't have that. So what we make is a bit above what it costs us to make it. So being that if I packaged a glutathione supplement that was as powerful as the one I used to make before all the prices on glutathione went up, you'd be paying $200 to $300 a bottle, maybe $5 if the bottle was big enough. And then I look at the glutathione supplements that are out there saying it has X amount of glutathione in it. Bull freaking shit! You can't, absolutely can't. It's impossible. You can't do that because it costs you more than that.
Yeah.
No one's going to put how much was it? $1,500 for like 15 grams or so. I mean, it was some ridiculous number. It was almost like $1 a gram.
Wow.
For real glutathione.
Wow.
And you just can't do it. So, what do all the glutathione supplements out there really have in them? besides air and fillers.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, Consumer Reports took a bunch of supplements just straight off the shelves at Walmart and Walgreens, analyzed them. They had nothing in them except ground up plant leaves. I mean, they weren't even herbs. They were just ground up leaves from God knows where. Somebody raked his front yard, ground them up, and
oh,
threw
that's
into capsules.
crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, and this is the stuff that most people try to have faith in when they think, oh, yes, I'm going to go natural, I'm going to buy my vitamins, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And they go to the store, and they buy stuff, and it doesn't work. And then, that doesn't work, so I'm going to have to go on the drugs.
Yeah, it's a bizarre cycle, right? I mean, it's a smart thing.
It is.
It's a smart thing. Hey, Doc, I have to run to the little boys' room right now.
Sure.
And when we come back, I want to get into some of your work on sexual hormones and sexual issues and things.
Good.
Awesome. Okay, I will be right back.
All right.
Thanks, Doc. Hey guys, really quickly, during my bathroom break, I figured I'd slip this in. I just wanted to let you know, if you haven't checked out the sacred seed oils from Andreas Wecker, they are in our store. They're called the Andreas Sacred Seed Oils. I'd highly recommend checking them out. There's so much research they've been doing on all kinds of different diseases, but I can't make any claims. And so what I would recommend you do is go over to our store and check out these sacred seed oils. They are a proprietary blend. Black human seed oil is actually in one of the blends. And if you know about the power of black human seed oil, this stuff, do some research. Check out black human seed oil. They are processed at such low temperatures that there's zero oxygenation. And what it does is it helps to deliver oxygen to the center of the cell. And if you understand what that can do, it's pretty awesome. You can start extrapolating your own conclusions when that starts happening inside the body. I also want to let you guys know too about the Rapid Release Technology Pro. This is a machine that I am just falling in love with. It helped to get me out of debilitating back pain. I had never been debilitated. I couldn't walk for a week. I was in unbelievable amounts of pain for a month, the whole month of June of 2016. And this is the only thing that got me out of it. A local practitioner here did a therapy session on me, and it completely turned me around. It is an amazing piece of machinery. It's a high vibrational tool that helps to break down scar tissue. It helps to release trigger points. It helps to open up blockages in the body, muscular, and also in the tendons, joints, and ligaments, and I think in the skeletal area as well by increasing oxygenation and blood flow and circulation. It's insane. So check it out. Both of those are available in our store. And so I just want to let you guys know about that. Both of those are in our store. So check out our store. We're adding new products all the time. And I just want to let you guys know that while I'm taking a break here. All right, let's get back to the show. Okay, Doc, you still there?
Yep, still am.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting, the sexual issues and the hormonal issues going on today. I was watching a video, an interview the other day with a UFC fighter, and he was banned recently. John Jones, you may know of him, for taking a substance, and it ended up being like Cialis or something.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like, it's so bizarre how people like this that are 27 years old and filled with testosterone, young, strong guy. And if a guy like him is needing something like Cialis, then, we've got some real issues in our culture. And I'm wondering, what's going wrong? Like, what are we being exposed to that's causing people to be infertile or men not be able to get erections, or what's going on with our culture?
Well, according to strength coach Charles Polquin, who has seen probably more athletes, high-level athletes like Olympic-level athletes, than anybody else.
Uh-huh.
He says 31 is the new 50.
31 is the new 50.
31 is the new 50. Back during the World War I generation, men usually went into andropause somewhere between 55 and 65.
Okay.
The World War II and baby boom generation, we have to remember that the World War II generation grew up in the middle of the Great Depression. They were about 8 to 10 inches shorter than their grandfathers were, than their fathers were in the World War I generation. The World War I generation was the largest, biggest, strongest, tallest generation the United States has ever made.
World War I.
World War I. World War II, kids of the Great Depression starved, and they were tiny and puny compared to their fathers.
Interesting. I've heard the same thing about like our founding fathers. Like a lot of the founding fathers and people that lived back then were like 5'2" or 5'3". They're really short kind of people.
Yeah, yep. And now back then, most folks were short because they simply didn't eat as well as we did apparently 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But we haven't recovered the height and strength, both structurally and constitutionally, that the World War I generation had. So as a result, the World War II and baby boom generation typically went into andropause. The men went into andropause between 45 and 55. Then our kids, the Xers and the Ys and the Zs and whatever,
right.
the millennials, are going into andropause in their early 30s. My testosterone replacement doc started taking testosterone replacement when he was 36.
36 years old. That is so
36 years
strange.
Old. His testosterone had hit the floor. Now, there are several reasons for that. Environmental estrogens, such as pesticides, most of the industrial chemicals used mimic estrogen. We also got fatter. I hate the marathoners. The marathoners and the entire marathon movement in the 1970s gave us all the high carbohydrate diet. I was waiting online to be on somebody's radio show, and I won't mention whose show it was, and I won't mention who he was on with. But the guy he was talking to was single-handedly responsible for the high carb diet of the 70s.
Oh, really? Okay.
And he was now talking about insulin resistance, and all I wanted to do was yell, "You son of a bitch! You're the reason why America is 70% fatter now. Why we have 73% more diabetes. Why we have all this." Because he was the major push for the high carb diet.
Okay.
I kept my mouth shut. I didn't say a word.
So the sugar is causing an issue, right? The sugar, too much sugar.
Actually, the body fat, the yellow body fat, suppresses testosterone because yellow body fat makes estrogen, and it makes aromatase. Aromatase converts testosterone into estrogen.
Okay, let me get that straight.
It's a double killer.
So yellow fat, what does it do again?
Subcutaneous fat. Yellow fat, not the brown fat that pads our internal organs, but the yellow fat, the stuff we grow on our bellies and our hips and our man boobs and whatever else.
Okay.
Does two things. It makes estrogen, number one. Number two, it makes aromatase, which is the enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. So there's a double whammy. So the high carbohydrate diet, since we weren't running marathons, made us all fat because we didn't burn the carbs off.
Mm-hmm.
And that fat created more estrogen. Then we throw in all the estrogen that everyone told us we were supposed to, eat from flax and soy.
Soy, right.
Your average glass of soy milk has 3 to 5 birth control pills worth of estrogen in it. Flax is 3 times worse than soy.
Now, flax, is there an issue with flax oil or flax seeds? Like, is it all flax?
Now, here.
Okay.
I want you to envision something. If it's a seed, if it's a bean, if it's a pea, if it's a pod, it is a mini uterus.
Okay.
It's a uterus. Think about it. It's a uterus. A seed is a uterus. Okay, what do uteruses have? Estrogen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All beans, all seeds, all peas, all pods. In other words, the crux of the vegetarian protein diet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all the protein sources for vegetarianism are all estrogenic.
Yeah, and especially with people doing like pea protein now or flax, a lot of flax, or they're doing these proteins that are made from seeds, and you're getting probably, I have no idea. I shouldn't speak, because I just don't know.
There are bodybuilders out there who use the pea diet who grow man boobs, who get gynecomastia in bodybuilding. They're called bitch tits.
Yeah. I was watching Pumping Iron recently, and I think some of those people have.
They got the gynecomastia from the side effects of the anabolic steroids. Anyone who takes anabolic steroids or testosterone replacement needs to be on an aromatase inhibitor. I've been trying to teach docs this for the better part of, probably 18 years now. If you do the T replacement on a patient, you need to put that patient on not estrogen blockers, but aromatase inhibitors to keep the testosterone from converting into estrogen. About half the docs by now have listened.
Okay, so you have testosterone itself,
yes,
and then you have aromatase inhibitors, which inhibit testosterone from becoming estrogen. And then you have estrogen blockers. And how is an estrogen blocker different than an aromatase inhibitor?
Okay, an estrogen blocker is actually a mild form of estrogen.
Okay.
That goes into the estrogen receptors. It has a greater affinity for the estrogen receptors than estrogen does.
Okay.
So they go into the estrogen receptors, preventing regular estrogen from getting into the receptors and having a physiological action. The estrogen blockers themselves don't have, while they are mildly estrogenic, like, let's say, tamoxifen,
mm-hmm.
they don't have a general estrogenic effect. Although I picked the wrong one because tamoxifen, also known as Novaldex, in the bodybuilding world, actually creates uterine cancer, but because it actually is estrogenic to some tissues.
So for people that are thinking about this, I know a lot of women may be thinking, this testosterone, that's not for me. Or people might be thinking, my testosterone is good or my hormones are fine. But in actuality, what's going on is this isn't just affecting people's sexual issues, but these diseases being high in estrogen is not just something that's hormonal, but it's also affects diseases like cancer and
exactly
all kinds of things, right?
97% of cancers are caused by estrogen.
Too much estrogen.
There's only one form of cancer caused by testosterone. So all this stuff, if you take testosterone replacement, you'll get cancer. I'm sorry. Estrogen is responsible for 97% of cancers. Testosterone and progesterone are each responsible for one. And it's a question about the progesterone. There's a question mark on the progesterone. So progesterone may not cause any cancer at all. As a matter of fact, women who are pregnant have 486 times higher progesterone level than when they're not pregnant, and during the entire pregnancy, pregnant women have less of an incidence of cancer than non-pregnant women do at the same age.
You would think they would have more because they have that whole, they have the pregnancy and the trophoblast and all of that issue, right? But I guess they don't. And that's because of the
significantly lower cancer rates amongst pregnant women than the non-pregnant women, and the only difference is having almost 500 times more progesterone in them.
So now the same things that are happening to men out there with low testosterone are happening with women too, right?
Yes, exactly.
Now, how does it show up in them? Low progesterone?
Low progesterone, very high estrogen, and they get fat in the hips and the buttocks and the thighs, and they hold more water.
And they're grouchy, and they have no drive, and they don't want to do anything.
So you're saying that so their normal estrogen levels are way too high then?
Yes, exactly. Any gal with an estrogen level higher than maybe the mid-double digits. I have met women who have estrogen levels in the 4-digit numbers.
Wow.
And typically, they have the uterine fibroids, they have the ovarian cysts, they have the fibrocystic breast disease, they have endometriosis, and they are the world's biggest mood swing. You can almost tell by their personality which gals are estrogen dominant.
Yeah, that's bizarre. So you've seen people with triple digits, you said?
1,000 and something estrogen levels.
Quadruple digits.
Yeah. Part of that is genetic.
Yeah?
Part of it is, give you an example. Most of the black folks in the United States come from three tribes: the Matabele, the Bantu, and the Yoruba. Of those three tribes, all of them are in West Africa. The Matabele are a bit more south than the other two tribes.
Mm-hmm.
But the Matabele women, as an adaptation to famine, which happened frequently, apparently, in their part of West and Southern Africa, Matabele women have an extra layer, very thick layer, of adipose that is genetically built into their bodies at the hips and buttocks to sustain them through pregnancy. So they get really big tushies and hips, and that extra fat sustains them through famine while they're pregnant. Okay? But you bring those gals here, and you feed them a good diet, and you don't expose them to famine, what happens to them? Bang, they get huge. You can always tell the Metabili genes in the United States black folks by who has the biggest butt.
Interesting. So they put on weight unnecessarily.
Yeah. Well, if they are still, their genes have only been in the Western world for 400 years. They spent a few million years in Africa. It was an adaptation to famine, to not having enough food, that gave them that extra layer of fat so that they could survive. It was a survival adaptation, which doesn't work all that well in a high-carb world, the way we have our modern world now.
So would you think that a 35 to 40-year-old woman, what do you think her levels should be on average?
When she's just about to have her period, somewhere in the 40s or 50s.
Wow, and you've been seeing quadruple estrogen levels.
Yeah, 1,000 and change, 1,000, 1,200, 1,000 and something else, and it's those are the gals who are most susceptible to all of the fibrosis diseases, to all of the mood swings, to all of the mental issues that happen with high estrogen, to the raging emotions and the cancers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 40s in the 40 and 50 range is where you want them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, and so what about levels of like progesterone for women and testosterone? What should they be?
It takes 200 to 300 units of progesterone to block 1 unit of estrogen.
Okay.
So you take a gal's estrogen level of estradiol and estrone, two of the three human estrogens. You tally them together, and then you take a look at the progesterone level. Well, you need to have 300 times more progesterone than your number for estrogen.
So your number for estrogen, though, you're combining estrone and estriol, right?
Yes.
And estradiol as well?
Estradiol and estrone.
Okay. Okay, so you're combining, you're adding those two numbers together, and then
exactly.
And then the progesterone needs to be what, 300 times?
200 to 300 times that number, and you won't find that anywhere.
Really?
You won't find that with anyone. Most of the gals and most of the guys, especially the guys over 40, 45, are estrogen dominant.
So a woman would need something like 13,000 on the progesterone side.
To match a 1,000, or 500 or whatever estrogen level.
Okay, so
if gals who use topical progesterone typically have a progesterone reading somewhere between 1,000 to 1,400. That's perfectly okay. Some docs are freaking out about that, but it's what they would have during second trimester of pregnancy. So why would you think that that's a bad thing?
So what happens why do those doctors say that? Is having too much progesterone is that damaging?
The one study that shows that progesterone may be involved with cancer was actually done as a masking study for estrogen. They were trying to get the blame off of estrogen for breast cancer. So they had these two female OBGYNs. They paid them to come up with a study that was what do we call a predetermined conclusion.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So what this study actually says is that there are so many empty estrogen receptors in women who have breast cancer that there are so many empty progesterone receptors in women who have breast cancer that progesterone has to be involved somehow with breast cancer. Okay, let's look at that study and let's look at endocrine physiology. Let's have a coin. On one side of the coin, you have one estrogen receptor. Okay, and then to balance the estrogen on the other side of the coin, you have 200 slots for progesterone. So, if I'm estrogen dominant and I filled up one side of that coin, but I don't have any progesterone to fill up the other side, I'm going to have a ton of anti-progesterone receptors, aren't I?
Yeah, they're going to be wide open.
A bingo.
Yeah.
So, what these gals said, and it was a definite obfuscation of the facts, a definite inebriation. I'm going to use big words. They were basically bullshitting over the facts. So they were saying that there were so many empty progesterone receptors that progesterone had to be involved with breast cancer. Well, it's involved because it's not there. You have empty receptors. You don't have the progesterone to fill up the receptors to balance the estrogen, which is actually what's causing the cancer.
Huh. So taking too much progesterone is not going to be an issue.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Take a look at women in second trimester.
Mm-hmm.
They're happy. They have great bone density.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't make them depressed if you tried. Now, what happens during third trimester when progesterone levels go down and estrogen level goes up because you need to boost the estrogen to cause birth? Estrogen either causes a miscarriage or it causes birth. Depends on when in the process it happens.
Oh, okay.
Which is why we try to keep women away from all the estrogenic stuff while they're pregnant until the very end, and then it doesn't matter whether they boost up their estrogen. Go have a dish of black beans. Go eat a bunch of soy. Go have a bag full of Panda black licorice.
Right. So what do you mean?
Okay then.
What do you mean by the very end? Like right up until?
Right when their due date is.
Okay.
Yeah. Matter of fact, my second child was 3 weeks late. He was actually getting moldy in there. He liked it in there. He did not want to come out.
He didn't want to come out.
The gal I was married to then, chiropractor, was absolutely sick and tired of being pregnant. She sat down with a bag of Panda black licorice at 7 o'clock in the evening, and she was giving birth by 12 hours later.
So just that extra little bit of estrogen helps to give birth.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was enough of a boost to throw her into labor. So progesterone maintains pregnancy. The levels have to go down, and you'll notice during second trimester, gals get really irritated, irritable. They don't want. I'm so tired of being pregnant. And the reason for that change of mindset is because the progesterone's going down and the estrogen's going up. So, postpartum depression, what happens? You still have estrogen flying through the roof. The estrogen numbers are really high, but you have zero progesterone to balance it off. I can take any gal in postpartum depression, slather progesterone on her, and she'll feel wonderful.
Now, I have a question to you. My wife is on progesterone right now, and she often asks, how come her body's just not making enough? Is she going to have to be on this topical progesterone forever? And if so, why is that?
We have planned obsolescence. Estrogen is God's way of killing us. We're not supposed to be on the planet for too long. We're supposed to have our systems begin to shut down and fail. And estrogen is God's way of making that happen.
Interesting. So really,
estrogen causes inflammation and fibrosis. Inflammation causes the organs to begin to malfunction, and the fibrosis that inflammation causes begins to take away function from the organ. I can take an 18-year-old cadaver on one table in an anatomy lab, and you put an 80-year-old cadaver next to it, and we start taking out the internal organs, and the internal organs on the 18-year-old look like what you expect them to look like. Mm-hmm. The organs on the 80-year-old are shrunken about one-third the normal size. They're shrunken. They're dried out. They're brittle. You can take a normal, let's say, liver and cut through it on the 18-year-old, and it feels like cutting through liver. Mm-hmm. You cut through the liver on the 80-year-old, and it feels like you're cutting through a day-old Italian bread.
Yeah, it's very hard, and like you said, filled with fibrosis, calcification, maybe too.
Exactly. And that's from the estrogen.
Okay. That's interesting.
The only hormone we make after 40, 45, 50, 60 is estrogen.
So that's just really the answer to that is just, that's just not how we're designed. We're designed to be checked off the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a real issue with people living longer then. You have all these, you got to really be strategic about what you're doing then.
You absolutely have to control your estrogen post-35.
Post-35.
Probably one of the most important things on longevity that no one has touched yet, and I'm going to take the credit here. I'm going to jump up and down and wave my arms. We have to control estrogen post-35, or it will. All of our efforts at longevity won't be as fruitful as they could have been. Estrogen is God's way of getting us off the planet.
Yeah, interesting. What are your thoughts about, maybe this is in some of your products, the indole 3-carbinol and the DIM and things, and blocking estrogen and things.
Okay, let me preface what I'm about to say by mentioning that knowing where the raw materials come from is very important in a supplement. All the DIM products, all of the DIM, the diindole methane products, sold in the United States, the DIM is extracted from cabbage. I used to be a great supporter of DIM. I loved DIM. Until we started getting a bunch of patients using the DIM who started getting thyroid problems. And we started looking into it and what the hell is going on. The cabbage has an anti-thyroid component to it, and it was slowing down thyroid function in about 30-40% of the people using the DIM.
That's right. They're goitrogenic, right?
Exactly, yeah. Now, the indole 3-carbinol has a problem. Blending raw materials and making my own supplements, I will not make a product with I3C because I3C has a shelf life of maybe 30-60 days. So if I make an I3C product, hell, the thing might be dead by the time I blend it. And then I put it into a capsule, I encapsulate it, I stabilize it. I do as much as I possibly can to make that thing live. Someone puts it on their shelves, sits there for a month or two. By the time the consumer eats it, there ain't nothing in there. It's dead.
So that's one issue then. One issue is that you just can't keep it alive. It's not stable.
Right. I3C denatures very, very, very quickly. Now, DIM turns into I3C, and it works really well, but it also kills your thyroid.
Yeah, so they haven't been able to figure out the DIM or the I3C without having the goitrogenic effect. They can't figure that out.
They can't isolate it from its original components well enough to cause that not to happen. So we just went in the opposite direction. We created a product called Synest, which is rough Latin for without estrogen. And it was based on the work of the gal who was the head of hormones at Georgetown, head of the hormone research group. We took 3 of the most aromatase-inhibiting herbs around. We put in enough of it to actually make it work. And then we put in a touch of serapeptase to help it be absorbed better, and it works like a charm. 2 capsules before bed is all you need. Now, here I have to backtrack and say something. You can take a look at supplements. I will make the flat statement that the more stuff there is in a supplement, the less it's going to work. You see this supplement, like there's one supplement being sold by a famous author for testosterone making, and it'll take any man and he'll make his own testosterone forever, and he'll live long age, and he can be 100 years old, and he'll act like an 18-year-old, and all the other BS that he's saying stuff. And he's got like 10, 20 things in here. All of them at about 40 to 50 to 100 milligrams tops of each of the substances. If I had a patient with an infection, and I gave that patient a tiny dose of antibiotics, is that going to do that patient any good? No. There is a threshold above which everything works and below which nothing works. Some is not better than none. Some is the same as none. Remember that always. So the less stuff a supplement has, the more likely it is to work, because the more of it, of whatever it's got in it, it has.
So you're talking about having things with relatively small amounts of ingredients, not small amounts, but, having them be single supplements rather than like a blend, right?
Or maybe a blend of 2 or 3, 4 things at the most.
Okay.
Okay? Especially in terms of herbs. We're not talking about multivitamins or anything, but in terms of herbal supplements, especially herbs, you can only pack so much into a capsule. Most of the companies use O-size capsules, which are next to the smallest size. And they have to put in all the stuff to make the stuff actually flow through an encapsulation machine. Any company, here I'll make another flat statement, it's going to get me in trouble with lots of folks out there. But as a person who actually builds this stuff, it is absolutely impossible to build a supplement without excipients and flow agents. You can't be done. Vitamins, minerals, herbs, not the minerals, but the vitamins, enzymes, and the herbs are super sticky. Try to bake a cake without lining the pan with stuff to make it unstick. So all the companies that tell you that they are free of flow agents and excipients are bullshitting. Absolutely. And you can send their products through independent testing, and you'll find a ton of flow agents and excipients in them.
Yeah, there's a guy, a prominent guy, and you know who he is, who's right in your state. I think he's in Austin, but that's one of his big claims, right? Is he says there's no excipients, no flow agents, and all of that.
The machinery does not exist to put all this sticky stuff, all this. Think of again making a batter. You can't put all this sticky stuff into a machine and expect the machine to work. It's going to gum up the machine.
So going back a little bit to what's causing all of these high estrogen levels and low testosterone levels in both men and women, so some of the things that are happening are like a high seed diet, these types of things, and soy, and probably pesticides, plastics, right?
Plastics, yes. So we have xenoestrogens, we have phytoestrogens, and then we have the people who are trying to be more vegetarian, who are throwing in more vegetable protein sources into their diet. They're getting all the estrogen from the beans and the seeds and the peas and the pods.
So what are the main things? Flax and soy are really extra estrogen dominant, right?
Yes.
And so other things like I think I've heard you say before on one of our shows that like that's why there's a high preponderance of women in South America who have fibroids and things, because they eat a lot of beans. So beans,
exactly, yeah.
Flax,
if
soy.
You look at the bean-eating societies in South America as opposed to the meat-eating societies. The meat-eating societies being Argentina and Chile. The bean-eating societies being just about everybody else. The women in Argentina and Chile have a lower incidence of endometriosis, uterine fibroids, ovarian cysts, and polycystic ovarian disease.
So do you consume no beans at all, or do you do every now and then? Or
I am half Cuban. I love black beans.
I know, they're so good, aren't they?
But the black beans are almost as bad as the soy.
Are they?
So, yeah, which is the reason why Cuban folks age so quickly. And I can say this because I'm Cuban. I'm going to get in trouble, but you take any Cuban gal after the age of 25 and she begins to look like her mother. Take any Cuban man after 40, he looks exactly like his father because of the estrogen in the black beans that causes people to age. Estrogen increases aging. If nothing else comes from the show, think about it. Estrogen increases aging. Estrogen is the agent for the body to shut down and age.
Okay. Well, apparently then Fidel Castro must have not consumed many beans because he just passed away, and he lived to a long ripe age.
Evil folks always live long. Stalin and Mao were the two greatest mass murderers in history. Castro tried to be a Stalinist dictator. For some reason, Satan just helps those people to live a long time so they can screw with society for long.
I know, it's bizarre. Like you see these murderers, on death row in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and then you have people dropping dead. It's like, how is someone? I often wonder, how is someone able to live on death row in prison for 40 or 50 years, eating that food? I've just never been able to figure that out.
They get help from down below is the best I can figure.
Yeah, that's bizarre. So we got estrogens, we've got plastics, we've got soy, we've got beans and seeds, and then I'm sure there's estrogens like phytoestrogens that would be contained in I'm guessing here just household products, cleansers, cleaners, chemicals, and stuff like that, right?
If it's a chemical type of just about any chemical you can think of in use lately has an estrogenic component to it, and I actually think that it's all part of Agenda 21. If you're familiar with the United Nations Agenda 21, they are aiming to reduce the population of the planet. One of the reasons why Bill Gates put those adjuvants into inoculations that he freely gave out throughout the third world was to cause infertility. The Filipino Supreme Court found him guilty of causing infertility in 1.5 million women who'd gotten vaccinations, and he said it out loud that they put those things in there to decrease fertility to help Agenda 21.
Yeah, I've seen that speech that he gave. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Where he flat out says
talk about evil.
Yeah, he doesn't hide behind anything. He says it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're helping the planet. Yeah, right. Okay.
So really, regardless of, someone may be listening and thinking, well, blah, 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 whatever. But regardless of that, of the reason behind it, we're still being exposed to these chemicals, whether or not we understand what the actual reason is.
Yes.
And these things are what's causing all manner of diseases, right? Fibrosis,
Right.
which ultimately kills us all, cancers and inability to reproduce, all kinds of crazy things that, didn't seem to be an issue, in the 1800s.
No, in 1960, a man was not considered fertile unless he made 100,000 sperm per milliliter of ejaculate.
Uh-huh.
These days, it was the numbers brought down to 20,000 because no one makes 100,000 sperm per milliliter of ejaculate anymore. Everybody did, and everybody topped that number.
Wow.
From 1960s going back, and now, since all these estrogens have gone into the environment, no one makes anywhere near that much in terms of numbers of.
Now, I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm going to guess there's got to be also some connection between vaccines and flu shots and fertility and hormones, right?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't throw all that stuff in that are in the vaccines. You go on YouTube and type in Merck researcher and HIV.
Merck researcher
and HIV, and you'll find a segment of a documentary done by WGBH in Boston. They're a public broadcasting station. On, I forget what the Dr. Kellerman, who was the lead researcher at Merck.
Oh,
and
okay.
They admit and they laugh about it right there, how he is a guy who brought HIV into the country.
Okay, I see it right here. It says the title of it is Vaccine Pioneer Admits Adding Cancer-Causing Virus to Vaccine. And the guy's name is Dr. Morris Hilleman, Hilleman.
Exactly.
Whoa.
They knew that a certain virus caused cancer. It was found in the monkey serum. They would infect a monkey with whatever they wanted to grow. Then they would use that serum from his blood and his tissues to create the vaccine. The DNA from whatever other diseases and viruses were there stayed in the vaccine. So Hilleman talked to not Jonas Salk, the others, Dr. Sabin,
Uh-huh.
about all the wild monkey viruses that were present in his polio vaccine, and Sabin got angry, telling him not to mention it, because then no one would want the vaccine.
Oh,
But
right.
the vaccine not only had the polio, it had a whole bunch of other viruses in there as well.
Wow. So these are, wow, there's so many different levels with these vaccines, aren't there? I mean, different systems of the body that these things affect. And a lot of times people just talk about vaccines and autism, but man, there's so many other areas where these vaccines are damaging people.
And, you can't have that many things going wrong with the vaccine. You can't have the stabilizers causing, for example, mercury causing brain damage and dementia. You can't have the adjuvants causing infertility in both men and women. You can't have the wild viruses causing cancers and immune system collapse. You can't have all that stuff in one shot and not have it be there on purpose. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's too, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
There's too much stuff in there that's deadly.
Yeah.
Combined together for it not to be purposeful.
Yeah, golly. So with the men now, I'm curious. I've heard recently that when a man is low in testosterone, typically what will happen is that their naturopath will put him on a testosterone cream. But then I was hearing somebody talk about how you want something a little bit higher up the chain, because this person was explaining that a lot of times the testosterone, a supplemental testosterone, can actually turn into estrogen. So he was saying that what he likes to recommend is for men to take something a little bit higher up. And I think he mentioned progesterone, but I forget what he mentioned. But he was talking about the conversion between testosterone, excess testosterone into estrogen, and the testosterone creams might be not the way to go. What are your thoughts on that?
Progesterone will protect testosterone from converting into estrogen. It acts almost as an aromatase inhibitor.
Okay.
In equations on paper, progesterone can turn into either estrogen or testosterone, but we don't see that in vivo. In vivo, in live human beings, progesterone stays progesterone. The only place where progesterone can convert into testosterone or estrogen is an equation on a sheet of paper or on a blackboard.
Does it happen?
It does not happen in vivo.
It doesn't happen in the testing at all, or but
no.
in actual humans that doesn't occur.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. So this is why I said that anyone prescribing testosterone replacement needs to be cognizant of the fact that they also need to prescribe an aromatase inhibitor to keep the testosterone from converting.
Now, if someone were to take I'm not even sure how many milligrams of testosterone someone would take, but whatever, let's say it's 100 milligrams. I have no idea. But, so what you're saying is that maybe in a particular person's body, their body may uptake 80% of it, but then the other 20 could get converted to estrogen. And if you take the aromatase inhibitor, then the body will keep that extra 20% from turning into estrogen.
Yes.
Is that kind of the idea?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Men between their late teens to early 20s make 9 to 10 milligrams of testosterone a day. So round about 70 to 100 milligrams a week, tops. Most of the testosterone gels have 50 milligrams per packet.
Okay.
So number one, we're at superphysiological levels. We're putting in too much testosterone. And yes, now some of it gets lost, but typically a topical application of a hormone actually works better than oral, because with a topical application you get 95% of what you're putting on your body. If I took a testosterone pill, I would only get 5.
Okay.
Those studies are very, very, very definitive. So number one, anyone using a topical testosterone needs to use less of it. They need to take that 50 milligram packet and spread it out over 5 days. That's number one. Number two, of the injections, the gels, and the implants, the absolute best way of supplementing testosterone, the most natural way, are the implants. You do it once every 3 to 4 months. They put in enough testosterone, and it might take 1 or 2 tries before they get the dosing right, but they put in these little tiny pellets under your skin in your hip. And you don't have to think about it. You don't have to do anything. It releases a physiological level of testosterone every day. If you want a little extra boost, you do some side leg raises. You know, I'm actually having guys do this before workouts. You do a couple of sets of side leg raises, flush some blood past the testosterone pellet, and bingo, you've got a boost of T. Or if you're going to go have a nice orgy or something, you know, a few hours worth of sex, you do a few dozen side leg raises, and you're ready.
Yeah, they say that squats are very good for raising testosterone because it's the biggest muscle group in your body, right?
Yes, but that only works temporarily. From really intense exercise, you get an hour or two of testosterone boost. But the studies show us that if you train intensely for too long, you actually go estrogen dominant. For example, troops in boot camp, they start off all being estrogen dominant. By the end of boot camp, they're so tired and worn out, they're estrogen dominant. Olympic athletes peaking for the Olympics start off testosterone dominant. By the time the Olympics are over, the testosterone is gone. They're all estrogen dominant. They're worn out. So it depends on the level of fatigue that the exercise causes, whether the testosterone remains high or just switches off into estrogen.
Yeah, so working out and exercise is a big component for hormones, right? I mean, it's right up there. You got to do it.
Yes, you absolutely have to do it. You cannot stop strength training. You might lower down your aerobics work because now after 40 years of the aerobics craze, and again, I will say I thought of this first. I was warning folks back in the 1970s when everyone was running and everyone was doing marathons. They were going to all wear down their joints. They were going to all suffer from immune problems because for every day of hard training, any kind of hard training, you have 2-3 days of immune suppression. Now, the weightlifters usually only lift for 3-4 days a week, but the runners run every day. It's a mania. So you tag along that many days of immune suppression together, it'll only take a few years before you crash the entire system. Well, I was right. All the guys from I used to work on some of the top 10, 20 guys who ran in the Boston and in the New York and who were Olympic contenders for the marathon. Of those people that I've stayed in touch with, one of them is crippled in a wheelchair. Another one has a disease that he caught from his cleaning the kitty litter from his cats. He can't walk around the block, much less run 26 miles.
Wow.
And everyone else has hip replacements, knee replacements, or really bad lower back pain.
Yeah, it's fascinating too because we all know people that have had this happen to them. I mean, I know a guy back in the day who was a marathon runner, and he ended up getting cancer, and I couldn't help but think of the acid alkaline connection to cancer and the amount of lactic acid that he's building up in his body with those huge runs.
Yeah, and think of the immune suppression.
Yeah.
There was a kid back in the 80s in Canada, very famous kid, I forget his name. I think he lost both of his feet, or maybe below the knee amputee, cancer, and he survived the cancer. So to raise money for cancer awareness and cancer research, he ran across Canada. 2/3 of the way across, he got his cancer back, and he died.
Oh my God!
He killed his own immune system.
Yeah,
running a marathon every day.
And you're building up so much lactic acid, and you're suppressing your immune system. And
all cancer patients are between 2 and 4 pH.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really damaging. I like the, when I heard of your work years ago, I no longer work out in a gym anymore. I work out in our backyard, and I miss this actual component, because, in the gym, what I do is after my workouts, I would do, or on days I didn't work out, I would just do, on the treadmill, just very explosive. Like I'd run super fast and then I would stop. And I just go through a few cycles of that, and I found that to be so much more invigorating, and I just felt better cardiovascular rather than just running for 30 minutes or 40 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even, who is that? Ken Cooper.
Oh, right.
Has come around to realize that anaerobic training is more important than aerobic training.
Has he really? He's admitted that?
About 10 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
About the time he started saying that marathoning was actually bad for you, and you didn't need to run more than 3 miles 3 times a week, is about the time that when everybody realized that all the people who ran to make their hearts healthy were dying of heart disease, and that what you actually needed was to protect your heart from shock, and that the anaerobic training, the sprinting, and the Harvard steps, and all the other types of anaerobic training were actually more important than aerobic training, and protected your heart and made your heart stronger and shielded it from shock.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, we weren't designed, I don't think we're designed to run for 30, 40 miles. And then now you see these people that are running these ultra marathons that are like 100 miles.
They're all nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If having dealt with athletes my entire life, or my entire professional life, from pro football players to Olympians to you name it, the most exasperating people I ever have to deal with, and I don't even do it anymore. I flat refuse. Are endurance athletes, the cyclists, the triathloners, the marathoners, the Ironman. They're freaking nuts, all the Ironman competitors. And you get the guys who have run so far that they've killed off part of their intestines because during a run they didn't have enough blood to feed everything in their body, so it sent the blood to their muscles and to their brain, but their intestines got starved of oxygenated blood. So they fell in the middle of a run. Their intestines were dying off, and they had to have part of their intestines removed. The first guy who ran the first Ironman got a mini stroke, or maybe a full blown stroke. His brain has never been right since then.
Wow.
All these terrible things happen to all these folks, but they don't do it for reasons of fitness. We have to understand that the extreme endurance athlete is not doing it for reasons of fitness. It's a mania.
Yeah, it's a psychosis. I was watching a documentary recently of this woman who I think she was trying to run through, I forget, it was on Netflix, and it was just essentially, I forget how far she was going, but she was trying to be the first woman to beat the men's record of running, I think in a tri-state area somewhere on the East Coast. And she was essentially running for I think it was like 5 days straight, just barely sleeping, 2 hours a night kind of a thing.
Ouch.
And you see the toll it takes on these people, and they're aging so fast, it's
right.
Crazy.
Yeah. There are old runners and bold runners, but there ain't no old bold runner.
So with hormones and things, what should people do? Should they go get their hormones tested, and then as a result of that, obviously if they see their naturopath, they're going to put them on a bunch of supplements, but how do they know those supplements are good and the right ones and all that?
And this is where we get to the beef that I have with most of the people creating progesterone supplements. With the gals, it's a bit different, but half the men go into andropause due to testicular failure. Your balls just don't work anymore, guys. And the other half of the men go into andropause because the brain stops making luteinizing hormone. So if I blend a really good supplement where I give the sterols to create testosterone and I put in something to have the brain create luteinizing hormone, I can take a guy who's gone into the pituitary part of andropause and he can still make some testosterone. But I can't take the guy who's gone into testicular failure. I can't give him anything to make testosterone because they simply don't work anymore. They're just hanging there, feeling the breeze, but nothing's going on. So those are the men who absolutely have to have the testosterone replacement, while the other guys can hold off until maybe 10, 15 years. But you won't know unless you try the supplements.
Okay, so
if you try the supplements and they don't work, then you need the T replacement.
Around what age are you seeing men and women need hormonal health these days?
My generation, the baby boomers, 40, 45.
Okay.
The folks younger, late 30s.
Okay.
My wife's generation, my wife is 16 years younger than I am. So she's in her 40s. Her generation, early 40s, late 30s.
Interesting. Okay. For all the reasons that we spoke about.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, that we didn't speak about is the role of healthy, good fats and building good, high cholesterol levels, right?
people have forgotten that cholesterol is essential for building and maintaining the brain, because the brain is 70% cholesterol. And without cholesterol, without saturated fats, you don't make any hormones. So in our quest for healthy hearts, which going on the low cholesterol diet didn't lower the rate of heart disease one whit.
No.
But it has increased the rate of Alzheimer's several million times. If you went to med school before 1975, you were taught that you would never see a case of Alzheimer's in 20 years of practice, because there were 4 Alzheimer's patients per 1 million population. What's the rate of Alzheimer's now? It's almost epidemic.
Yeah, it's almost a guaranteed now, right?
Yeah. Now, there were
that.
studies that were taken off of PubMed maybe 5-6 years ago because of liability issues. But the studies came from the 1920s through the 1940s, and they showed that polyunsaturated fats destroyed brain tissue. Ooh! Not only destroyed brain tissue in mice, but destroyed brain tissue in primates. Okay, folks. If canola oil will destroy brain tissue in primates, if safflower oil will destroy brain tissue in primates, it's going to do it in humans. So if they had the studies and they knew in the 1920s and 40s that polyunsaturated fats destroyed brain tissue, what the hell would they expect would happen if they put us all on polyunsaturated fat diets? And then you combine it with the fact that we don't make any hormones below 180 total cholesterol count. Now, all the docs want us to be below 200, well below 200. Most of the docs aren't happy until we get into the 160s to 130s cholesterol level. Who's making hormones? Nobody. Yeah,
so that's what I've heard too from the research we've done, is 180 is that number where if you go below that, you're not producing any hormones.
Exactly. 180 is the magic number.
So a lot of times, the late great Dr. Hal Huggins, he would recommend people at least 220. I think 222. I think was his number.
Yeah. You know, the magic number for cholesterol when they originally went after it in 1966 was 300. If you were 300 and under, you were okay.
And this was in 1966.
Yes, in 66. Then they made it 240 or 244. That was a magic number for a while. Now it's below 200, and you can't do that without the statin drugs.
Right.
Okay. And this, rhabdomyolysis is a disease where the muscles basically dissolve away. If it happens fast enough, all that dissolved protein will clog up your kidneys, and you'll die of renal failure. There were 4 cases of rhabdomyolysis, 4 serious cases in the world before the advent of statin drugs in the late 80s. Right now, it's a frickin' common thing to have happen, even though most docs still don't know how to diagnose it.
It almost seems like it's similar to cachexia when people have cancer, right? They just sort of waste away.
Yes, but it happens faster, like in hours.
Wow. What is
One
that?
severe case of rhabdomyolysis that I had experience with. I've only met 2 rhabdomyolysis patients my whole practice career. Was a starting football player at Oklahoma State. I think he was Oklahoma State. He was taking 30 grams of creatine a day. Creatine going past the kidneys, urinating out, is one of the signals for the body to start breaking down muscle. So it saw all this creatine that the kid was urinating out, sent out the signal. As the boy was laying on the ground, writhing and screaming, the coaches and the rest of the team saw the skin on his thighs and his abdomen expanding like balloons. His muscles were dissolving so fast they were creating methane gas, and his skin was stretching.
So this is a muscular breakdown then?
Yes, exactly. Rhabdomyolysis is the quick dissolving away of skeletal muscle.
Interesting. And this has something to do with the adrenals?
With the renals, with the kidneys.
With the kidneys. Interesting.
Yeah, when the kidneys get a signal, usually it's too much creatine. You're only supposed to have about 147 milligrams of creatine in you at any given time.
Yeah, I tried creatine a long time ago, and I did not do well with that stuff.
Most folks don't, but the supplement companies still sell it as one of the primo muscle-building supplements. Knowing, it's been 20 years now. We know this stuff causes rhabdomyolysis. They don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah, a breakdown of muscle tissue that releases a damaging protein into the blood.
Yeah, and then all that protein goes into the kidneys trying to get excreted. It clogs the kidneys up, and typically a serious rhabdomyolysis patient dies of kidney failure. Well, since the advent of the statin drugs, that went from 4 patients in the world to many tens of thousands of patients now go into rhabdomyolysis.
Yeah, they say now 200,000 people per year.
Dang. Oh, yeah. God.
I mean, that's just of the cases that are actually properly diagnosed, and then the people that actually, go for the testing. But yeah, that's quite a bit.
It's a horrible number. It's a horrible disease.
Yeah, it says here, symptoms include dark reddish urine, a decreased amount of urine, weakness, muscle aches, muscle pains, weakness, vomiting. Golly, I can't imagine. Yeah, that's crazy. So with your supplements, I'm curious because you have on Dr. Wong's Essentials. Let me go to that page here really quickly. Dr. Wong's, let's see, is it plural? Yeah, Dr. Wong's, plural, essentials.com. And then I went into your pro sexual health category here. And it looks like you have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got about 5 products here. Now, if someone were to want to get some of these, how are they in terms of men and women? Like, can women take all of these?
Yes, and gals routinely do to help boost their testosterone and their progesterone making levels. Yeah,
because I was, I forget what my levels were, but I was low in testosterone, which I thought was very crazy because I work out a lot. I've been doing, this. Just eating well for many, many years and avoiding plastics and avoiding seeds and and soy and all that. But I was low in testosterone. So
we would all have to leave the planet to have normal testosterone levels for our ages. Everybody, it's almost a given that if you're over 35, you're going to have low T.
It's like people that are wondering if they have, candida or parasites. These things are just. It's like, why do the testing, right?
Just treat them. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I see Andean Essence Max as a supplement you have that's with maca root. Is that the main component?
That is our primary pro testosterone supplement. You remember that I said that you can't put too much of anything into one supplement or it won't work.
Okay.
So I basically divided my protestosterone stuff into 2 supplements. The Andean Essence Max is a 18 to 20 to 1 maca extract. So instead of having to eat 3 to 6 tablespoons of maca powder a day, 1 capsule equals a tablespoon of maca.
Oh, wow.
And then I also put in the ashwagandha, because the ashwagandha tells the brain to make luteinizing hormone to turn the sterols in the maca into testosterone. Now, it has to be said that there are sterols and there are sterol. If I start off with just a basic blob of polyunsaturated fat, I'm about 6 steps away from it being testosterone. If I start off with a sterol that's 1 step away, like androsten used to be, the androsten was great because it was 1 step away from being testosterone. Maca has a sterol. And that's 1 step away from being testosterone. So if I put that in and then I put in something to release the luteinizing hormone to tell the testicles or the adrenals to turn that into testosterone, it works better.
So it says here you have a 90 capsule bottle. How long would that last?
It's usually 2 to 6 capsules a day.
Okay.
So about half a month.
Okay, so you can do the math on that. And then...
And then if you combine that with the Enkindle, everything in there makes either luteinizing hormone or dopamine. See, there are 4 different factors involved with sexual desire and sexual ability. You have to have a fairly good testosterone level. You need to have aromatase inhibitors to keep the testosterone from converting into estrogen, or dihydrotestosterone. DHT is the hormone that causes prostate swelling and baldness.
Yeah, that's what I have. I have too much DHT with thinning hair.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So an aromatase inhibitor is called for to keep your testosterone and your estrogen from converting into DHT.
Now, an aromatase inhibitor, so that would be something that would be in Kindle, the Katuba bark extract.
No, actually, it's in the Synest.
Okay.
It's in the next supplement down. The in Kindle has things to make either dopamine or luteinizing hormone. Now, of those four things that are essential, you need dopamine to have passion. You can't have passion and desire without the dopamine. You can have as much testosterone as you want. You won't have lust. You know, remember back when you were a teenager, you saw this great girl on the beach and, you had to jump on her bones.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the dopamine. If you walk through a dopamine ward in a hospital, you'd be so surprised. All these 70, 80, 90-year-old ladies and all 70, 80, 90-year-old men are jumping into bed with each other, and they're all trying to seduce the nurses because they're all on dopamine replacement medications.
Interesting.
They all have sky-high dopamine levels, and they're horny as hell, and the guy's getting good erections at 70, you know? And they're trying to make love with each other and with the staff.
How funny.
It's actually comical after a while. It's sad, but it's comical.
Yeah, golly, that's so funny.
Without the dopamine, and from 40 on, we lose 1 to 10% dopamine production a year until by the time we get to, let's say, 50, 60, we're at really low dopamine levels. Now, dopamine is what connects the body to the brain. Without dopamine, you're dead. You have Parkinson's. An early decrease in dopamine levels or a severe decrease in dopamine levels creates the disease of Parkinson's. But
really?
Everyone has that decrease in dopamine. And when we have the regular 1 to 10% decrease in dopamine, we lose our desire. Not tonight, honey, I've got a headache. Not tonight, you know, I have to hang the laundry.
Yeah.
Well, not tonight, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Without dopamine, there is no desire. So we put in the stuff to make testosterone. We put in the stuff to make dopamine. We put in the stuff to keep nitric oxide from dying or to create more nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is what causes vaginas to be lubricated, clitorises to be engorged, penises to be erect. Without nitric oxide, there ain't no sex.
Right. So if someone were interested in some of these products, are they able to call you and say, hey, here are my hormone levels. What do you think I should kind of get?
Actually, I'm more available via email.
Oh, really?
On a particular day, I can be in any one of 3 different places, 23 to 46 miles apart.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I answer typically between 8,000 to 10,000 emails a year,
whether
they buy my stuff or not.
Oh, my goodness.
That's my ministry. That that's what I do. I give out health information for free.
Are you still doing the Dr. Wong radio?
Oh yeah. I'm not doing a show a week the way I used to. I've slowed down, so I might get 1 or 2 shows out a month. But yes, still ongoing since 2007. And it's at drwongradio.com.
So,
along with the most important thing I've ever done. Most important thing I've ever done is on that website as well. That is the lecture titled "Fighting the Things Most Likely to Kill Us." Everyone should listen to that lecture. If you don't listen to anything else, if you don't buy any of my supplements, listen to that lecture.
So let's see. Yeah. Okay. So it's under the lectures, Finding the Things Most Likely to Kill Us. Now, was this a lecture you did, or was this like a podcast you did?
Actually, the old lecture was an actual lecture that I did at the NNFA show.
Oh, okay.
I think in 05 or 07. And then I revised it and added more information to it to do the revised version, which is also there.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. The first one's 67 minutes, and the second one is 129. What kinds of things do you talk about in there?
The 2 things that kill most of us. If you take a look at the suffix of most diseases, they either end in itis or osis. Okay. If it's an itis, it's an inflammation. If it's an osis, it's a fibrosis. So most of the diseases that will kill us are either an inflammation or a fibrosis or the result of inflammation and fibrosis, because one leads into the other. We're taught in med school that irritation leads to inflammation. Inflammation leads to induration, which is hardening, which is done via fibrosis, and then induration leads to death.
And that essentially is like scar tissue as well, right?
Yes. All induration is exactly that. It's scar tissue.
It's just scar tissue that's internal that you can't really see.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
give you an example. We all have internal inflammation. Your kidneys are inflamed because they're constantly working. Your heart is inflamed. If your heart stops to take a rest the way your bicep does, what happens? You're dead.
Yeah.
So, anything that is constantly working is going to be hot, is going to be inflamed, is going to be breeding fibrosis, because the next step after inflammation is fibrosis. So since most of the things that kill us are involved with inflammation and fibrosis, if we find a natural way to lower both the level of inflammation and to eat away at the fibrosis, not just prevent it, but eat it, actually lice it away, then we can add decades to our lifespan.
Oh, that's cool. I'm going to go check that out. So if people are interested, it's just Dr. Wong Radio. And then at the top, there's a link right next to the home button called Lectures. And then the 2 lectures are there so people can listen to those. That's awesome. I haven't heard that yet. I'm going to check that out.
Good.
Well, awesome, Doc. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me on board. It's been fun.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, and go drink some good mineral water for us.
I will do that.
All right, hang on the line. Hang on the line there, Doc. We're going to just close out the show. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. Your support is amazing. Thank you for being a part of everything that we have going on. If you enjoyed this show, pass it on to your friends. Let them know about it. If you know of anybody that has hormonal issues or a disease that you think may be hormonally induced, pass the show on to them and let them know about the work that we do and let them know about Dr. Wong's work. And we would both be greatly appreciative of that, and so would your friend as well. So thanks for sharing our shows and everything that you guys do for us. We love you, and let us know if we can ever help, and we'll catch you guys on the next show. And I'll be back at the end for a wrap-up as well. Well, there you go, Mr. William Wong. His website. Let me look at his website. What is this? Dr. Wong Radio? Yeah, that's it. drwongradio.com. We were originally going to do the show via Skype, but wow, last night I was working, and I was doing some producing on some shows, and I got the old blue screen of death on my laptop, and it just crashed on me. And so I was freaked out because we recently switched over from a laptop computer. I do all my shows now, everything on a laptop, and we recently had a regular tower PC, but that crashed. so let's see, about 3 months ago we got this laptop, and now that crashed. And it changed all of our settings. So before the show, we were on Skype and just couldn't connect up on Skype. So we had to do the show via phone call. Hopefully the sound quality is good for you. Curious what you guys think about Dr. Wong. He was on episode 38 back in the day. Back in, I think it was 2014. Episode 38. Golly, that's so long ago, isn't it? Now we're up to 487 free shows, which are so cool. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's written a book called The 10 Natural Treatments You Haven't Heard of Until Now, and the best natural sports medicine book ever. And yeah, he's got a lot of interesting things to say. In the first show, we talked a lot about fibrosis and how fibrosis causes disease. And I think it's really interesting what he talks about, because it's fascinating that when you think of any osis or any sort of disease, if it's like a fibrosis, which typically, see what happens, according to what he was talking about in episode 38, is that the fibrosis or calcification, which should be some kind of nanobacteria, most likely, calcification and scarring, internal scarring of the organs, is it causes the liver or the lungs, to become more, I guess the right word would be like less supple. Less blood flow, and so it shrinks and it gets hard and it becomes more calcified. And so when the liver does this, what happens is that, we don't die from a liver that ends up turning into a brick. It just slowly becomes more brittle and more hard and harder over time. And so what happens is that the liver is unable to produce what it needs to produce and to clean the blood and to do everything that it's supposed to do. Same thing with your lungs, same thing with your heart, same thing with all of your other organs, is that they just slowly over time, almost like they get choked off. They get choked out, and they can no longer function the way they're supposed to function. And because they can't function, this could have put a burden and a stress on other areas, other organs of your body, and then they become the same way. And so you have this sort of slow decline of the organs. And so, according to David Wolf, he talks about nanobacteria and calcification in the same way. And so he talks about how calcification is what eventually sort of brings down all of the great mammals on the earth. And so if you can prevent this calcification and internal fibrosis scar tissue from happening and from the organs to shrink and die, then you could help get rid of disease and live longer and be happier, and all your organs are going to function. And, imagine living to 900 years old, like in the Bible, or 100 or 200 years old, with all of your faculties. Imagine being, 150 years old and you look like you're 60. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? That would be I couldn't imagine. I'm wondering if you guys ever have thought about this, but I often wonder, first of all, if it's actually true what the Bible says about people like, what was the name of that guy? Methuselah, living to 969, it says in Genesis. I often wonder, did that happen? Like, did their entire life become delayed? So, like, for example, if you live to your, 969 years old, typically we think now that, you may have been the same sort of body up until you're 60, but from 60 to 969 is very slow aging. But what if that slowed aging process was applied to your entire life? So that means, like, instead of a baby, a toddler becoming a toddler at 3 or 4 and starting to walk and things like that, at 3 or 4, it may be 40 years old before the baby can walk. Right? And maybe like 300-year-old would be equivalent of like someone who was, 20 years old. And so at 300, you start having your kids. Was it like that? Or did they go from 0 to 60, just like we do now, but then from 60 to 900 years old was was just like, they were, 450 years old, but they were 60. So at what point did the aging become a factor? And, that's one of my things about the Bible. It's like, it says all these things, but why doesn't it give us any clarity, right? Why don't we, if you're going to make an extraordinary claim like that, living to 969 years old, there should be either extraordinary evidence that substantiates that claim, or there should be, more details than you could ever need in order to understand how that claim can be true, right? But just to say that someone lived to 969 just doesn't give me enough to really go off of, It leaves a lot of questions in my mind. But anyway, wouldn't it be interesting, though, if you could, like, age where from 60 years old, you could live to, say, 150 or 200, but you had the body of a 60-year-old, and so from 60 on, you just were in great shape and all of that. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, that would cause some real issues. We did a show with Adam Bergstrom recently, about color therapy, but we talked about longevity too. And then we did a show with, what was his name? What was it? Oh, Dr. Ed Park. And he's a local guy here I think he's in Newport Beach, California. But, he talked about TA65, astragalus, and, the effect of astragalus on the telomeres. And the telomeres are the indicators of aging. And from what I understand, they are similar to like, the ends of a shoelace is how they describe them. And so every time a cell divides, this telomerase enzyme breaks off a piece of the telomere, at the end of the cell. And so every time a cell divides and replicates itself, that copy has less of the end caps of the telomere on it. And so eventually, I'm not sure how many replications a typical cell can undergo before it just dies because it doesn't have this telomerase enzyme or telomere attached to it. But in any event, we're talking with Dr. Ed Park. If you're interested in that show, he came in the studio for that one. That was a lot of fun. And he's got some supplements there that allow for the enzyme to not be broken down, and it increases telomerase enzyme. Yeah, so that show was interesting. We talked about extreme longevity. But with extreme longevity, there has to be the piece, right, of hormonal activity, because there's no way that you're going to be able to have extreme longevity with the amount of hormonal issues that we have today. So during the middle of me talking right now, Kate just called and I took it, and she was, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. I just cannot believe, I don't know what is going on with our culture. Okay, so just right now the phone rang and I picked it up. I just paused the show right there, and she's on her way to work, which is the reason why she couldn't be on the show today. But she was stopping at Rite Aid up the street, which is like a drugstore, to pick up some like particle board, not particle board, but those, those little signs you can make for a garage sale. She's going to have a garage sale on Saturday. And and she just told me that the guy asked her after she bought the particle board for the sign if she wants a flu shot. And she said, "Oh, no, thank you." And so then she just said to him, "Do a lot of people take you up on that?" And he said, yeah, like, in the last 3 weeks, over 700 people have got the flu shot on when we asked them if they want to. It's kind of like an upsell, right? Like if you're buying a product like Amazon, do you want this little extra widget to go along with the widget that you're going to buy? 700 people said yes to the flu shot. My God. Oh, yeah. Crazy. Yeah, so anyway, we're talking about longevity, and we were talking about how in order to have extreme longevity, you're going to have to figure out something out with your hormones, because like he said, planned obsolescence is sort of the way we are created. Maybe we weren't designed to live as long as we're living. I don't know, but if you take the Bible as some an authority, I mean, even in the Bible, it says we're supposed to live to 120. So, that was the curse, right? That God put on man, is that you're going to, you have to work by the sweat of your brow to earn your sustenance. And women are going to be in pain in childbirth, which is really creepy and weird when you think about that, right? So the pain a woman experiences during childbirth is part of the curse? I don't know. That's weird. And then also your days will be shortened to 120 years, which is, what is that? 40 years beyond what you figure maybe 80 years old is what we get to now. I think it's like in the United States right now in 2016, it's about 75 or something like that. But let's just say 80 to make it easier on the math. And you got 40 extra years that we're not living to right now, probably because of the way we're living. So how do we fix all this stuff? How do we increase our hormones? How do we live a life that's disease-free and healthy, right? That maintains optimal health and energy levels and hormone levels. How do we do these things? Well, I think a lot of it's lifestyle. I think like Dr. Jack Cruz said on our show that we're looking in the wrong areas when it comes to disease. We're looking in the wrong areas, and the area that we're looking in is the genes, and that all came about because of the Human Genome Project, where we were able to map all of the genes in the body. But the problem, he said, is that the genes are one level down from the mitochondria, and so the mitochondria is affected directly by lifestyle and environmental factors. And so his whole thing is, well, he's got a lot of things, but he talks a lot about blue light and radiation and things like that. And I tend to think that he's going to be on. I think he's really on top of it. I've really changed a lot of how I'm living as a result of listening to the last show, or actually being interviewing him on our last show. I think it was episode 466. I think Dr. Jack Cruz. But you can just go in our archives. But a lot of this stuff is lifestyle, right? So we want to avoid toxins and chemicals as much as possible. So like in this studio here, I have carpet. So there's going to be toxins that are in the carpet. There's just nothing you can do about that, right? We don't own the place. Actually, Kate's dad owns it. So, in order for us to retrofit the entire place, he may not want to do that. So, we have to take precautions. So that's why I do the rebounder. That's why I do the sauna. That's why I take supplements, and that's why I do all this stuff. You know, the issue is that we're living a very unnatural lifestyle. We're living a fake reality. It's almost like we're living in a matrix. And the problem is that we live in a matrix in terms of what's real in this world, right? We live in a complete matrix. Everything that's right is wrong, and everything that's wrong is right. Everything is backwards and upside down. And it's easy to recognize when you see it happening in the news and the mainstream media. But the problem is that our lives are this way too. So we are living under an incredibly toxic society and under a toxic burden that in order to what is the right word? In order to make sure that you are not exposed to these toxins, you have to take pretty radical and extreme lifestyle measures. And, you know, is it extreme to live a life free of toxins? It is. But I say it's more extreme to live a conventional life exposed to toxins, because talk about abnormal and extreme. Being exposed to 70,000 chemicals in commercial use right now, and over 700,000 chemicals that we're exposed to on a daily basis. You know, we talked with Craig Carroll a little while ago. He was talking about benzene. Listen to that show. Benzene is in every petroleum product, which means it's in all plastics. And benzene is known as a carcinogenic substance, and a cancer-causing substance, benzene. So it's in any glues, any dyes, any plastics, all that stuff. And so in order to free yourself from the burden of this toxic load that's constantly putting a stress on our immune system, it seems like you have to do a lot of things, right? You got to get a water filter. You got to get, you know, we have the Berkey water filter, and there's water filters you can get, and you got to, I mean, it's pretty extreme. And it's unfortunate that in order just to be sort of left alone, you have to, you know, you have to take pretty extreme measures, or what people would think are extreme measures. And so, but it behooves us to do these things, because really what this is all about is how much do you love yourself? How much do you invest in yourself? How much do you buy into the idea that you're here for a reason? How much do you have, how much self-worth do you have? Are you worth investing your time, money, and effort into? Is it worth it to you to spend your money on things like water filters and organic bedding, which we have in our store, or you can get anywhere online? You don't have to buy the one we recommend, but although we like it, is it worth it to you to buy grounded bed sheets and to do these things? And I think it's important. I really do, because without our health, everything just goes away. You know, if your thing, like, let's say, for example, you love politics and you like, you know, marching in the streets, and you read Howard Zinn's books, and you like to protest and to fight the government, say, for example. Your passion could be anything, right? But let's say that's your passion. If you're not healthy, you can't do any of those things. You can't be involved in that stuff, because you're going to be tired. You're not going to have passion. You're not going to have drive. You're going to have low vitality. You're not going to have vigor. You're not going to have stamina. You're not going to be able to do any of these things if your hormones are all shot. If your mind and brain is filled with fluoride and chloramines and chemicals and chlorine and, you know, flu shots, you're not going to be thinking right? So that's the real question. Do you value yourself enough to invest in yourself, right? We need to start changing our values and our self-worth, right? Because you think about like our rent or a car or clothing, right? Our culture puts a lot of value and worth into those things. But what we need to start doing is start putting a lot of value and worth in supplements, in organic food, and clean water, and toxic-free, you know, chemical-free cookware, which we have in our store, or toxic-free mattresses, or moving towards glass in your kitchen instead of plastics. You know, we need to start changing our values and putting worth in that. And ultimately what you're doing when you invest in those things is you're saying, you know, I'm worth it. I've got a mission here on earth. I've got things I need to be doing. I've got goals that I want to accomplish. I've got people and lives that I want to touch, and I want to make a difference in the world. And so I want the world to somehow be a better place after I leave than it was before. And each person has their own little threshold of things that they can do, things that they want to do, passions they're into, all of these things. And when you start investing in your own health, then you're saying, I believe in myself and I'm here for a reason and I've got things I need to do and I need to, if you're investing in yourself, it's almost like you're telling God, I want to be here. You know, I've got more work to do. I've got a lot of work to do. I need to help a lot of people. I need to help wake people up. I need to influence my friends and family or whatever it is you need to do. But you're saying to the universe and to God, hey, allow me to give me more time on earth because I've got a lot to do because I'm investing in myself and in my health. So that means shielding ourselves from EMF. It means all of these little things that we do on a daily basis. We have to do these things. It's just, you know, if you don't, there's a great quote that says, if you want what everybody else has, just keep doing what everybody else is doing. But if you want something different for your life, then you have to do something radically different on a daily basis. So to the extent that you want something different, that's the same extent that you have to do something different on a daily basis. Maybe your friends are going out drinking or going to go drink, you know, coffee at Starbucks or going to do these things that are, you know, not good for the health. If you want something different, if you want to be a completely different person, if you want to transform and change your life, if you want to be someone who at 75 years old is climbing mountains and able to conquer things and able to do things and explore the limits of their own body, then you got to do something every day that's different. And like I always say, look at someone in your family or one of your friends who happens to be, you know, 20, 30, 40 years older than you and ask yourself, do you want to be that guy? Do you want to be that woman? Do you want to be angry and upset about what could have been? Do you want to be crying about all the woe is me and all the bad things that happened to me? Do you want to be constantly talking about all of the things that you used to do in the glory days of your youth? You know, do you want to be someone who just constantly talks about why they can never do anything because something or some person or some institution is holding them back or holding them down? And do you want to be someone who's angry and complaining all the time when you're 75? Or do you want to be someone who's 75 and happy and vibrant and energetic, adventurous, willing to take risks and happy and joyous and getting the most out of life? You know, because the health is something you earn and it's something that you work at and it's something that you strive for every single day. And it's not something that we ever attain. It's not something that we ever have. It's not something that we can ever hold in the palm of our hands and think that, yes, I've achieved it. It's something that's dynamic and it changes on a moment by moment basis based on our thought life, based on how we think about ourselves, based on our energy levels, our stress levels, and how we respond to those things. And health is something that every second of every day, it's a dynamic change and dynamic interaction. And, you know, so working at your health is imperative if you want to be able to do the things in the world that you want to do. So it's a constant basis. It's a constant, not struggle, but it's a constant striving for optimal levels of health. And so a lot of times, you know, you have to ask yourself, do I want this little bit of ice cream? You know, do I want to, sure, it makes me feel good eating it, but do I feel bloated afterwards? Or does it make me, you know, is this what a superhero would do? Is this what someone who is the hero of their own life? Is this someone who is, you know, like a Superman or a Superwoman or Batman or Batwoman, whatever she's called? Is that something that the hero of your life would do? Give in to temptation, you know? And if there's a camera crew following you around, you know, would that camera crew show a level of success to people and inspiration to people? Would your life be something that people could watch on a documentary and be like, oh my gosh, I need to live like this person? Because when you start investing in yourself in that way, and you start becoming the star of your own story, the hero of your own journey, when you start becoming that person, then I think good things happen. Everything starts to snowball, and you start feeling good, and you start affecting other people, and you can use that energy to help other people wake up, and it becomes this entire process of awakening and optimal energy levels, and it's just a good thing, reclaiming that which was ours that we let get away from us is very powerful, because no one else did these things to us. We're not sick because someone else did something to us, right? We're sick because of a lack of awareness. We've all got our own health issues. We've all got challenges that we're trying to make it through, but taking personal responsibility for everything that comes into our life, I think, is the first step. Recognizing that we are the author of our own life and our own story, and we only allow things in that we allow in. And so, recognizing that we ultimately have the power to heal, and it's ours. It's our birthright, and we can heal anything. And you have to believe that we can heal anything, no matter what you're dealing with right now. It can be healed. And you have to have that understanding. You have to think like that. Because if you don't, that's the first step towards degeneration. That's the first step towards the disease process getting a hold of you and your immune system not being able to get on top of that. That's the first step towards what you don't want to have happen, is the lack of belief. Because when you cut yourself, like in your arm, you don't think you're going to heal. You're like, I hope this scratch on my arm heals itself. No, it's going to heal, right? You see that scab start to form the next day. You put a Band-Aid on it, the wound starts closing. I mean, that's just what the body does. That's how the body works. So if it heals on the outside, why wouldn't it heal on the inside? But the problem is that we don't believe that it will sometimes. And so if you're having doubts about that, this becomes a personal development issue, a personal growth issue, and a spiritual issue that, we need to explore why we sometimes don't believe that we can heal, or we hope we do, and we're just hoping. But we got to get down to the idea that it's not a belief, it's a knowing. It's not a faith, it's a knowing. And we know that these things will happen, and that's where it first starts, I think. And so, when you start changing your mind and you start exploring spiritual practices and start putting your faith in God and putting your faith in yourself, and you start exploring all of these ideas, you start to really be okay with the process and accepting how you are now, and learning the reasons for it, and looking into the deep emotional aspects, the family history, the family constellation, the recall healing aspects of our emotional attachments to disease. We start looking at those things, and then we can start understanding that we have the power and we can heal anything. And so looking at these things that Dr. Wong talked about, hormones and longevity and things, we could do whatever we want to do. And ultimately, health and vitality is a spiritual issue. And so, recognizing that you have a birthright, and to be able to grasp and take hold of that birthright takes work, and it takes daily effort, and it takes spiritual and physical practices that you adhere to on a daily basis. And the weird, bizarre thing about that is that once you start taking care of yourself, you start feeling good about taking care of yourself, because you're thinking to yourself, like, let's say you have a brother or sister who completely doesn't take care of themselves, and you see the direction they're heading, and you look at the direction you're heading, and you're saying to yourself, today, this is what I do sometimes when I want to make myself feel good before I go to sleep. I'll think about all the things I did in this day that supported my health. So I'll think, okay, I took my Organifi green juice powder. I took which is one of the things it's available in our store, Organifi green juice powder, but it's one of the things I try to do every day to get my greens in. Did I have did I make healthy food today? Did I do for me, do I do my rebounding? Do I do my sauna? Do I do my skin brushing? I have a thing called the Rapid Release Technology Pro. It's in our store, but I use that every night before bed, and then I do my skin brushing right before I take a shower. Did I do my breathing exercises? Did I, I'll think, oh wow, I did my meditation. I did my qigong that I do every day. That's available. The program that I use is in our store. Did I do my Qigong? I did my meditation. I did my reading. I went out in the sun and I got grounded. I did my workout. Okay. I ate well. I drank my water. I took my supplements. I took my enzymes. I took my minerals. All these things that we do every single day. And you think, wow, look at all these things I'm doing for my health. Sometimes you may be like, oh man, I got stomach issues. I'm bloated, or, I've got this, the doctors tell me that my body has this disease, or, why do I have these things? And my brother or sister, they don't take care of themselves, and look how great they seem to be. But guess what? It all catches up to them. It all catches up to them. And we may not see it now, but you see it at the end of your life. You start seeing it around 60, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. You start seeing these people that don't take care of themselves. You start seeing what the result of that does to somebody. And then it makes you feel good. You start taking care of yourself. You think, wow, I really did a lot of cool things for myself today. You pat yourself on the back, you feel good. And then the more you do that, the more it's almost like a separate issue, right? All these things that you do every day help you, right? And they help boost your health, but then you also get a boost in your health just by feeling good about doing those things. Now you have two things that are working for your health: the doing of the actual thing, and then feeling good about doing the actual thing. So now you have two things that are working for you. So it's really cool, So I would suggest starting with little things and trying your best. Just slowly add in little disciplines here and there. And eventually over time, you're going to see that, you're stacking, 10, 15, 20 disciplines into your day, that you weren't doing before. And now you're doing these things and you just feel freaking awesome. And, it takes time to do these things. So don't try to jump in, too quickly. That's one of the, sort of pitfalls I see a lot of people doing, is they try to jump into these things way too quick and try to, lose 20 pounds in a month, or they try to, change their hormones so quick. Realize that you spent a lifetime getting to the place where you're at right now. And so allow yourself the grace and the patience and the honor of taking it slow. So slowly start changing your life with little disciplines, and start adding, only add the second or third or fourth discipline on after you get to the point where you can't live without doing the first one or two disciplines. It becomes such an ingrained part of who you are and what you do every day that you miss doing them. And once you get to that level, then you say, okay, now I can start doing the extra disciplines. I can add one more. And then add one more, and then pretty soon you're just a different person. So, let's see, what else is there in terms of hormones? Make sure to focus on your weight too. If you want to increase your hormones, weight is a big thing. So make sure that if you're overweight, start working on losing weight for hormones. And also, I'm glad that he brought up zinc, and we talked about strength training as well. One of the things we didn't talk about was vitamin D levels in terms of hormone. We talked a little bit about the cholesterol and the fats, and those are super, super important. But make sure you optimize your vitamin D levels when it comes to your hormonal levels. So check that out. Learn more about that. Vitamin D is an amazing substance. I believe it affects over 3,000 metabolic processes in the body, if my memory is correct. It's crucial and critical to have optimum vitamin D levels. Also, something we didn't talk about is reducing stress. Stress is, I think, it's hard to say because, a lot of people have different ideas about what causes disease, but stress, chronic stress, elevates your cortisol, and that affects testosterone levels. And if you're in a long-term chronic stress level, that's going to radically affect your hormonal levels. So make sure to lower stress. Do meditation, engage in fun activities, eliminate things in your life that are stressful if you can, relationships, places of living, these types of things. We talked a little bit about sugar, and that was good. Make sure not to eat too much sugar. Sugar and its relationship to hormones is, your testosterone levels decrease right after you eat sugar because of the insulin, the spike in insulin. And so realize that you should constantly be, I think, on a program of lowering sugar levels. We talked about eating healthy fats, which is great. And let's see, what else is there? Oh yeah, there's something called branched chain amino acids, and that's in foods like whey protein powders and things. And we have a great whey protein. They call those BCAAs. But the more BCAAs, which is the branched chain amino acid, you have or that you consume, it affects or it causes a result of higher testosterone levels, especially when you consume something like BCAA along with resistance training or weight training, things like that. So you can get a lot of these BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, like leucine and, and dairy products and quality cheeses and things like whey protein, ghee, grass-fed ghee. The whey protein that we have in our store, from Synergistic Nutrition is raw, organic from an Amish farm, grass-fed. As far as I understand, it's the only raw whey protein powder out there. So, you can look into things like that. But these are all ways of, getting healthy hormone levels, and make sure to eat healthy fats like avocados. Oh gosh, what else? Grass-fed meats. Grass-fed meats don't really have a lot of fat in them, but butter, grass-fed ghee, coconut oil, olives are a great source of fat, and things like that. So, these are all just ways of basically just taking care of yourself. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that show. It was a lot of fun. It was great to talk to Dr. Wong. We haven't talked to him in a long time. He's a great guy. Love what he's doing out there. So make sure to check out his website. Let me give that to you again. Dr. Wong, DRWONG Radio, drwongradio.com, and Dr. Wong's, DRWONGS, Dr. Wong's Essentials.com. Anyway, both of these will be available in our show page. So if you want to check out the show and listen on our website, it is just simply extremehealthradio.com/487, and you'll be able to check out the sponsors on that page. All you have to do is just type in extremehealthradio.com/487, and you can check out the links to Dr. Wong's websites, his supplement line, and all that good stuff, as well as there'll be a link there with his past shows where you can check out episode 38 as well. And also, I just want to say thank you guys for supporting us in our store. We're adding more products. We just added some more products to our store. Great stuff. Great stuff. And you're going to find some unique stuff in our store. So anytime you're going to make a purchase of a health tool or gadget, visit our store and see if we have it, and then go through our link, and that will help support us. We appreciate that. And I also want to say thank you guys. You guys are so awesome. Recently, many more of you have been shopping through our Amazon link, and I wish I could personally thank you for that, because, it may not seem like a lot to you if you're going to go to Amazon and spend 10 or 15 bucks, but, more and more of you guys are doing it, and I really appreciate it. It helps us so much, especially during the holiday season, Black Friday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of that. But a lot of you guys have been writing in saying, hey, I've been bookmarking your Amazon link. And I really appreciate that so much. It really helps us. And I can't thank you enough for that. So, if you want to bookmark our link and support the show, that's such a great way to support the show, because everybody buys on Amazon, right? And you don't have to do anything other than just click our link before you make that purchase, and we'll get a commission. And it's not like you have to donate to the show or buy any of our products in our store. Just buy the stuff that you would normally purchase on Amazon and just go through us. And it's cool because, nothing really changes on your end. Everything's the same, except we get a commission, and that helps everything. So if you want to bookmark our link, just go to our website, extremehealthradio.com, click on the right-hand side. There's a link to Amazon. Click on that, and then bookmark it. Is that how it works? I forget how bookmarks work. Or you could just think of us every time. But I just want to say thanks, you guys. You guys are so cool and so kind. I'm so thankful. So thank you for you guys doing that. It's really great. And thank you for your purchases in our store as well. We are now connected. If you look at our store, there's an area that says at the top, Shops We Love. And we're connected up to a lot of great places like iHerb, Lucky Vitamin. What's the other one? Let's see. What's the other one called? Dr. Robert Kassar's site, Earth Shift, I think it's called. Anyway, we're connected up with a lot of different stores. So, yeah, you guys, your support is we just can't thank you enough for it. And also you guys have been supporting us via Patreon too. You guys are awesome. That just is so nice and so kind. And I want to take this moment to thank Mr. Justin Cecilia for your donation of $5 a month. I really appreciate that. You are awesome, man. Thank you so much. It helps support the show. And I also want to thank Caitlin for supporting us on Patreon. You are amazing. Thank you so much. Oh man, Kate and I, when we get a notification of someone donates on a monthly basis, we just are so grateful, because it means that you guys enjoy the show. Because a lot of times, by purchasing through our links, it's amazing. But when you take the extra effort to support us, just for the sake of supporting us, I just can't tell you how much that means to us. So you guys are just awesome. One other thing I want to let you guys know too is that, if you're listening to this during the holiday season of 2016, at the end of 2016, the sauna is still on sale. And I want to let you guys know that right now we're running the sale until we're told otherwise, which can happen at any moment. Last year, the sauna was on sale for, I think it was like a week and a half, and then they had to shut it off because they sold out. We just had too many people purchasing the sauna, and they sold out and they weren't able to get any more, and so we had to shut the sale down. But right now it's still going, which is awesome. I think they realized that we're going to sell a lot for them, and they bought more to be able to facilitate that. So it's kind of a until supplies last kind of a thing. But right now the sale price is $150 off. So I think it comes to about $970 right now, but you have to go through our Black Friday link to do that. So if you go to extremehealthradio.com/Black Friday, that should work for you. But if you go to that link in the future at some time of the year when it's not Black Friday, it won't be available. But a couple things. The saunas right now is $150 off, and it's going up in price, unfortunately, by another $100 starting January 1st, 2017. So I would recommend, if you have the ability to buy it for Christmas, or if someone if a family member asks you what you want for Christmas and you've been wanting to get the sauna, I would recommend buying it as soon as you can, because it's going to be another $100 more expensive after January 1st, 2017. And right now the sauna sale price is $150 off, so you're saving $250. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. I'm not sure how long the sale will go for, like I said, and at some point it'll be taken off, and then after 2017 it's going to go up again. So I don't want you guys to pay more than you have to. We are sort of constricted with our pricing. We don't have a lot of flexibility. Like, we can't control the price increase, or how long the sale is going to run. So I want to just convey that to you, so that if you're able to grab it as soon as possible and to lock in that $250 savings, I'd like you to, because then with that $250 savings, you can go buy other Christmas gifts, or you can buy some supplements or something else. So that's quite a bit of savings. So there's that, the sauna. I think that's about it. Let me give you guys a heads up on the upcoming shows that we have coming. Let's see. We were going to have Mary Jackson next week about babies, and remembering their birth. So, but I think she had to cancel that. So we may have to get somebody else. We're going to be talking to Dr. Eric Z. We're going to go over essential oils, next Tuesday, and how to use essential oils, what essential oils are best to use with specific conditions, where to get them, how to apply them, how long they last, protocols for different conditions, all kinds of really cool stuff with Dr. Eric Z. And then we have, this will be cool. On the 9th, we have Fred Van Loo, the water doctor. Is your water the chi to your, is your water the chi to your health? Did he mean to say key? Is your water the chi? Maybe not. Maybe, so he talks a lot about, vortexing water and spiralizing water and structuring water. So that will be a really interesting interview, I think, because water becomes our blood in 30 minutes or less. So you want to make sure you're drinking the highest quality water. And when you get the water, you want to make sure it's structured and all that good stuff. Let's see. Then we have Marcus, from trulyheal.com. That's going to be a good show. He's doing some cool things. He's down in where is he? He's down in my neck of the woods, Australia. I think he's down near Melbourne, Australia. And he is, interesting guy. And then we have Dr. Dean Bonley. We're going to be talking about magnetic sleeping pads. And then we're going to be talking about Miriam Heenan on bees and autoimmune disease. We've got some cool stuff coming up. So, thank you guys for your support, for everything you do for us. We love you so much and, are just so grateful and appreciative that we can do this kind of work, help you guys out and all of that good stuff. So you guys are amazing. Thank you. I think that's about it. Love you guys. And if we can ever help, let us know and we'll, see you on the next episode.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not